This morning, CEO Victoria Ashford fired Marcus Reeves without a second thought. 21 minutes late. No excuses accepted. By noon, he'd taken a bullet meant for her heart, bleeding on her showroom floor while she held his hand and begged him not to die. What she didn't know: the man she'd just destroyed was the only one who could save her from the nightmare about to unfold, and the little girl waiting at home. She was about to teach a powerful CEO what family really means. 5:47 in the morning. Marcus Reeves woke to small fingers patting his face. The touch was gentle but insistent, the way only a child could be when something was wrong. "Daddy-o, I don't feel good." His 7-year-old daughter Ren stood beside his bed. Her face was flushed, her eyes glassy with fever. Her favorite stuffed bunny clutched tight against her chest like a shield against whatever monster was making her feel so terrible. Marcus pressed his hand against her forehead. Burning, the kind of heat that made a father's heart clench with worry. "Come here, princess." He pulled her onto the bed, cradling her small body against his chest. She curled into him immediately, trusting, vulnerable. His entire world wrapped up in 47 pounds of messy hair and mismatched pajamas. Marcus Reeves was 36 years old, former Army Ranger, 14 deployments across 3 countries. He'd survived firefights in Kandahar, ambushes in Syria, the kind of violence that left marks across his knuckles and nightmares that never fully faded. But nothing terrified him like his daughter running a fever. "Am I going to be okay, Daddy-o?" Her voice was small, scared, the voice of a child who'd already learned that sometimes people you love disappear and don't come back. Ren's mother had taught her that lesson, walking out when Ren was 3 years old. Divorce papers and a forwarding address that led to a disconnected phone number somewhere in Nevada. 4 years of silence since then. 4 years of Marcus being everything to this little girl. "You're going to be just fine, princess." He stroked her sweat-dampened hair. "Just a bug. We'll get you some medicine and tomorrow you'll be back to beating me at Uno." She managed a weak smile. "I always beat you at Uno." "That's because you cheat." "I don't cheat. I'm just smarter than you." God, he loved this kid. Mercy Pediatric Urgent Care. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry wasps. The waiting room smelled like antiseptic and anxiety. Marcus sat in a plastic chair, too small for his frame. Ren curled against his chest. Her small fingers clutched his worn jacket. His mind raced through calculations he couldn't afford to make. His bank account held $247.83. Rent was due in 6 days. The urgent care visit alone would be $150, maybe more. The numbers didn't work. The numbers never worked. But Ren was sick, and that was the only math that mattered. "Mr. Reeves." The doctor emerged from behind a curtain, young, efficient, kind in that professional way medical staff learned early. "Good news, it's just a viral infection. Nothing serious. Children's Tylenol for the fever and plenty of rest. She should be back to normal in 2 to 3 days." Relief flooded through Marcus like cool water. "Thank you, doctor. Keep her hydrated. If the fever goes above 103 or lasts more than 3 days, bring her back." Marcus nodded, already calculating. The visit, the prescription, the time off work he couldn't afford. But Ren was okay. That was all that mattered. On the drive to drop Ren at their elderly neighbor's apartment, she tugged his sleeve. "Daddy-o, why do you always look sad when you count money?" The question hit hard.
For you. I fired you for just 21 minutes and
I didn't deserve to be saved by you.
you don't need to deserve it.
I did it because there was an innocent person.
Harder than any punch he'd ever taken. Marcus glanced at his daughter in the rearview mirror, 7 years old and already too observant, too aware of the weight her father carried. "I'm not sad, baby. I'm just thinking." "About mommy?" The word still stung, even after 4 years. "No. About making sure you have everything you need." Ren was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke with the simple certainty only children possess. "I have you. That's everything I need." Marcus's throat tightened. His hands gripped the steering wheel, calloused fingers turning white. How did he get so lucky with this kid? Mrs. Bellamy was waiting at her door, 68 years old, silver hair always perfectly styled, the kind of grandmother everyone wished they had. She'd lived alone since her husband passed 5 years ago. No children of her own, but she'd adopted Marcus and Ren as family the day they moved into the building. "There's my favorite patient." Mrs. Bellamy crouched down to Ren's level. "I heard someone has a fever." "I'm being very brave," Ren announced solemnly. "I can see that. Brave girls get extra cookies." "It's a rule." Ren's eyes lit up despite her fever. She hugged Marcus tight. "Go catch the bad guys at work, Daddy-O." If only she knew how prophetic those words would be. 8:51 in the morning. Marcus rushed into Ashford Prestige Motors. 21 minutes late, the showroom was a cathedral of luxury. Polished marble floors reflecting vehicles worth more than houses. A Bentley Continental gleaming under spotlights. A Porsche 911 Turbo S. A custom Aston Martin that probably cost more than Marcus would earn in a decade. The air smelled of leather and money. Two things Marcus had learned to live without. And standing in the center of it all, clipboard in hand, expression carved from ice, Victoria Ashford. She was 32 years old, CEO of Ashford Prestige Motors and the hidden tech company that operated beneath it. Charcoal suit worth more than Marcus's monthly rent. Dark hair pulled back in a severe ponytail, posture like a steel rod. Everything about her screamed control, power, the kind of woman who made decisions and never looked back. Her gray eyes found Marcus across the showroom, calculating his worth in milliseconds, finding him lacking. "You're late, Mr. Reeves." Her voice was winter, cold and sharp. "Miss Ashford, I apologize. My daughter woke up with a fever this morning. I had to take her to—" "I don't accept excuses." The words cut through his explanation like a blade. "Your shift begins at 8:30. You arrived at 8:51. That's 21 minutes of company time wasted." Marcus felt something dangerous stir in his chest, the soldier inside him. The part that had been trained to respond to disrespect with overwhelming force. He pushed it down. He had Ren now. Ren who needed him to swallow his pride and keep this job. "It won't happen again." "You're right." Victoria made a mark on her clipboard, not even looking at him anymore. "Because you no longer work here. Collect your final paycheck from accounting. You have 15 minutes to clear out your locker." The showroom went silent. Everyone stopped moving. Sales staff, technicians, customers, all of them frozen in that terrible moment when someone's life falls apart in public. "Miss Ashford," Marcus kept his voice steady, controlled. "I'm a single father. My daughter is 7 years old. I need this job to— Your personal circumstances are not my responsibility." No emotion, no hesitation. Just cold efficiency in an expensive suit. Something broke quietly inside Marcus. Not dramatically, just a guitar string tuned too tight finally snapping. He'd fought for his country. He'd saved lives. He'd come home with wounds that would never fully heal. And now this woman, this privileged, cold representative of a world that had never seen real hardship. She was throwing him away like a broken tool. 14 minutes, Mr. Reeves." Marcus nodded once.
English. I know an apology isn't enough,
But I want to make amends.
how will you make amends?
By action. By not hurting others anymore.
Turned, walked away with the dignity of a soldier who refuses to break. But as he passed Victoria, he noticed something strange. Her hand trembled slightly on the clipboard. Behind those cold gray eyes, something flickered. Fear, maybe, or regret. She buried it immediately. But Marcus had spent years reading people in combat zones. He knew what hidden pain looked like. The Ice Queen wasn't as frozen as she wanted everyone to believe. Marcus collected his things from his locker. A photo of Ren at the beach last summer, gap-toothed grin and sunburned nose, a backup phone charger. 9 months of his life reduced to 2 items that fit in his pocket. He was halfway across the service bay when he heard it. Glass shattering, not accidentally, violently, then screaming. His body reacted before his mind caught up. 14 deployments worth of training, buried but never forgotten, surging back like muscle memory. 4 men burst through the showroom doors. Black tactical gear, balaclavas, military-grade coordination, diamond formation, covering fire while advancing. These weren't random criminals. 3 carried pistols, Glock 19s. Marcus's brain automatically cataloged. The fourth had a Mossberg 590 shotgun. Everybody down, now, down on the ground. Chaos erupted. Customers screamed. Sales staff dropped behind desks. The receptionist, barely 19, working this job to pay for college. She dove under her station, hands shaking. But the attackers weren't interested in civilians. They moved directly toward Victoria Ashford. Miss Ashford. The leader's voice was distorted by his mask. British accent underneath. Ex-military from his movement patterns. Don't move, don't scream. The drive, the AI prototype. We know you're carrying it. Give it to us now. AI prototype. Marcus's mind raced. This was a luxury car showroom. What did AI have to do with anything? I don't know what you're... The leader grabbed Victoria's arm, wrenched it behind her back. A second attacker, built like a linebacker, drew a combat knife, 8 inches of blackened steel. He pressed it against Victoria's ribs, just hard enough that blood began spreading across her white shirt. The prototype drive. You brought it here this morning. Your calendar said tech demonstration, 9 a.m. That means you have it. Last chance. Marcus watched from the service bay doorway, partially concealed behind a pillar. He should walk away. This woman had just destroyed his livelihood, humiliated him in front of everyone, took away his ability to provide for his daughter. She deserves whatever happens next. The thought was dark, ugly, true. But then he saw the receptionist, barely 19, hiding under her desk, tears streaming down her face. He saw the service manager, Derek Huang, former Marine, pressed against the wall, trying to shield 2 junior mechanics. He saw innocent people about to be caught in whatever violence was coming, and he thought of Ren. Daddy-o, why do you help people even when they're mean to you? Because that's what good people do, princess. Marcus moved, not away from danger, toward it. 13 years of close-quarters combat training took over. The shotgun wielder saw him first, tried to bring the weapon up. Too slow. Marcus grabbed the barrel, forced it up and away. Palm strike to the jaw. The shotgun discharged. Deafening boom. Skylight exploding 30 feet above. Glass raining down like deadly snow. 3 seconds. 1 down. The second attacker turned. Pistol swinging around. Marcus dove behind a Bentley Continental. 3 shots cracked out. Precision grouping. Center mass where he'd been standing. These weren't amateurs. They shot like soldiers. Marcus rolled behind the vehicle, using the engine block as cover, the only part of a car that could reliably stop bullets. His mind raced. 3 armed hostiles remaining, 1 holding Victoria with a knife, 2 trying to flank him. Approximately 20 civilians in the building. He needed to end this fast. A junior mechanic, Danny.
You're not as cold as you used to be.
I'm still scared, but I don't want to hide behind ruthlessness anymore.
Crouched behind a desk, eyes wide with terror, but locked on Marcus. Marcus caught his attention, pointed to the tool chest against the wall. Professional grade, 600 pounds of metal on wheels. Danny understood. When the next gunman came around the Bentley's rear end, expecting to find Marcus cowering, he found a 600-pound tool chest slamming into his legs instead. The gunman went down hard, head cracking against marble. 2 down. The leader was backing toward the shattered entrance. Using Victoria as a human shield, knife still pressed against her bleeding ribs. Stay back. I'll cut her throat. I swear to God. Marcus stood slowly, hands visible, palms out. Easy. Nobody needs to get hurt here. Too late for that. The leader's eyes were wild behind his mask. We're leaving. Try to stop us and she dies. They were almost at the door. Marcus could let them go. Victoria would probably survive. They needed her alive to get the drive. But then Victoria's eyes met his, those same cold gray eyes that had fired him an hour ago. Except now they weren't cold. They were terrified, human, pleading. Marcus grabbed a tire iron from the workbench, hurled it like a tomahawk. It spun end over end, covering 20 feet in less than a second, slamming into the leader's gun hand. The pistol clattered away. The man screamed. His partner reflexively turned toward the sound. Victoria drove her elbow back into his solar plexus. Not trained, desperate, but enough. The knife drew a thin line across her side as the big man's grip loosened. Victoria dropped and rolled away. Marcus was already running. The leader scrambled for his drop pistol. Marcus got there first, kicked it away, grabbed the man by his tactical vest, threw him into the doorframe. The man's head bounced off steel with a hollow thunk. Collapsed. The big one with the knife charged, rage replacing professionalism, wild overhand strike. Marcus sidestepped, caught the wrist, used momentum against him. Basic judo throw. The big man flipped, landed flat on his back. Wind rushing out. Marcus drove his knee into the man's chest, twisted the knife free. 4 attackers, all down. 30 seconds. Silence filled the showroom, except for distant sirens, sobbing civilians, the soft jazz still playing through hidden speakers like nothing had happened. Marcus stood in the center of the chaos, breathing hard, blood on his hands, his knuckles split, his ribs aching from a body shot he'd barely noticed. Then he felt it, wet warmth spreading across his shoulder. He looked down, saw the hole in his shirt, the blood pumping out with each heartbeat. The leader's shot, in the chaos. He'd been hit and hadn't even realized. The adrenaline was fading now, the pain arriving like a freight train. "You're bleeding," Victoria's voice, close. She'd pulled herself up, hand pressed against her own wound. Expensive suit ruined, perfect hair come loose. But she was staring at Marcus with something he couldn't identify. "You saved me," her voice cracked. "After what I did. You saved everyone here." The room was spinning now, Marcus's vision tunneling. "Yeah, well," he swayed slightly. "I'm sure your security footage caught everything. Tell the cops I'll be—" He never finished the sentence. The marble floor rushed up to meet him. The last thing he heard was Victoria screaming for help. The last thing he saw was her face above him, tears streaming, the Ice Queen finally melting. And somewhere in the chaos, a radio crackled with a voice Marcus couldn't quite hear. Phase 1 complete. The soldier revealed himself. Now we know exactly where Marcus Reeves is. They hadn't come for Victoria at all. They'd come for him. 3 days of darkness. Marcus drifted in and out of consciousness. Fragments of memory surfacing like debris after a shipwreck. Paramedics cutting away his shirt. The cold shock of an IV needle. Victoria's voice, distant but persistent, demanding to ride in the ambulance, refusing to be left behind.
I've been practicing this for a whole week and I love you.
Stop.
Stop practicing. Just say it.
It's true. I love you because you see her as your whole universe.
He saved my life. I'm not leaving him. Hospital lights, blindingly white, surgeons in masks, the taste of anesthesia, and somewhere in the darkness, Ren's voice. "Daddy-o, please wake up. Please." When Marcus finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Victoria Ashford. She sat in a chair by his hospital bed, dark circles carved beneath her eyes, still wearing the same clothes from the attack. 3 days unwashed, 3 days of waiting. She looked nothing like the Ice Queen who'd fired him. She looked broken. "You're awake." Her voice was hoarse, raw from crying or praying or both. I thought you might—" Marcus tried to sit up. Pain exploded through his shoulder. He gasped, fell back against the pillows. "Easy." Victoria was on her feet instantly, hands hovering, wanting to help but not sure how. "The bullet nicked an artery. You lost a lot of blood. The doctors said—" She swallowed hard. "They said you almost died." Marcus processed this slowly. His mind felt wrapped in cotton. "Ren." The name came out cracked. "Where's Ren? Is she—" "She's fine. She's safe." Victoria's voice softened. "Your neighbor, Mrs. Bellamy. She's been taking care of her. I've been sending updates every few hours." A pause. "I hope that's okay. You've been here 3 days." It wasn't a question. Victoria looked away, guilt written across every feature. "I couldn't leave. Not after—" She took a shaky breath. "Not after what I did. What you did. I needed to know you were going to be okay." Silence stretched between them, heavy with things unsaid. "She sent you a drawing." Victoria reached for something on the bedside table, a piece of construction paper covered in crayon, a stick figure in a hospital bed, A smaller stick figure with yellow hair beside it and words in a child's careful handwriting. Get better, Daddy-o. I love you to the moon and back. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. He didn't try to hide them. She's beautiful. Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. Inside and out. Mrs. Bellamy let me video call her yesterday. She told me I looked like a princess who forgot to sleep. Despite everything, Marcus laughed. It hurt his shoulder. He didn't care. That sounds like Ren. She also said, Victoria hesitated, something vulnerable crossing her face. She said she prayed for me to stop being mean to her daddy. The words hung in the air. Marcus watched Victoria struggle with emotions she'd clearly spent years suppressing. The mask cracking, the Ice Queen becoming human. Why are you really here? He asked quietly. She met his eyes. No armor left. No walls. Because you saved my life after I destroyed yours. Because I haven't slept in 3 days wondering if you'd wake up. Because, her voice broke, because I need to tell you the truth. About the attack. About why they came. About everything. Victoria told him about Nexus Dynamics, the real company hidden behind the luxury car dealership. 3 years of development. $40 million of research. An AI system called Athena that could revolutionize autonomous transportation. My father started this project before he died. Her voice carried old grief. Heart attack, 6 years ago. I was 26. I inherited everything overnight. The company, the pressure, expectations I had no idea how to meet. She stood by the window, looking out at the city but seeing something far away. I was so desperate to prove I deserved it, so terrified of failing his legacy. I became someone I hate, cold, ruthless, firing people for being 21 minutes late because their sick daughter mattered more than my schedule. She turned to face Marcus. That morning, when I fired you, 3 other people that week, all for minor mistakes. I thought being cruel meant being strong. Tears slipped down her cheeks. But watching you take a bullet for me, a stranger who had every reason to hate me, I realized I don't know what strength is anymore. Marcus let the silence settle, then spoke. So those men wanted Athena? Partially. But there's something else. Victoria handed him a file from her bag. The leader, Connor Blake. He worked for a man named Dmitry Volkov, tech crime lord, Eastern European. He's been trying to steal my research for months. Marcus opened the file, saw the name, and felt his blood turn to ice. Volkov! You recognize it. 6 years ago, his voice was hollow, distant. Syria. I was part of a classified operation. We were sent to capture an arms dealer named Nikolai Volkov. He was funneling weapons technology to insurgent groups, getting Americans killed. What happened? I killed him. 3 rounds. Center mass. His compound collapsed during extraction. We lost 3 Rangers. Good men who trusted our intel. Victoria's hand covered her mouth. Nikolai was Dimitri's older brother. If Dmitri is behind this attack, Marcus met her eyes. He wasn't after Athena. He was after me, using you to flush me out. The room felt smaller suddenly, the weight of the revelation pressing down on both of them. There's something else. Victoria's voice trembled. 6 years ago, the same time as your mission, my father's company was hit by a massive cyber attack. We traced it to Eastern European hackers but could never prove who was behind it. She sat on the edge of his bed, close enough that he could see the devastation in her eyes. The stress triggered my father's heart condition. He died 3 months later. I always blame myself for not protecting him, for not being strong enough. She looked at Marcus with dawning horror. But it was Volkov, the same man who's hunting you. He killed my father. He made me into this cold, broken thing. 2 survivors, same war, different battlefields. 6 years of parallel suffering finally converging. We find him. Marcus's voice was steady despite the pain in his shoulder. We find him, we stop him, and we make sure he can't hurt anyone else. Victoria nodded, something shifting in her expression. The CEO returning, but different now, tempered by vulnerability. Together. 1 week later, Marcus was released from the hospital. Victoria insisted on driving him home. Her Mercedes felt absurdly expensive compared to his battered Honda, but she didn't comment on the neighborhood when they arrived, didn't judge the modest apartment building with its peeling paint and cramped parking lot. She just walked beside him, ready to catch him if he stumbled. They were halfway to the entrance when the door to Mrs. Bellamy's apartment burst open. "Daddy-o!" 47 pounds of 7-year-old girl launched across the sidewalk like a guided missile. Marcus caught Ren despite his injured shoulder. The pain was worth it. Everything was worth it for this moment. "I missed you so much," Ren's words tumbled out in a rush. "Mrs. Bellamy said you got hurt helping people, and I was scared. But I prayed every night, and I drew you pictures and—" She stopped, noticing Victoria standing a few feet away. Ren's eyes narrowed, the way only children's eyes could when they were assessing a potential threat to someone they loved. "Who's the pretty lady?" "Ren, this is Victoria. She's my friend." "No, she's not." Ren's voice was matter-of-fact, brutally honest. "She's the one who fired you. Mrs. Bellamy told me." Victoria flinched like she'd been slapped. Yes, I am. That was mean. I know, I'm very sorry." Saying sorry is easy. Ren pulled back from Marcus's arms, stood directly in front of Victoria, barely reaching her waist but somehow commanding the entire space. "Daddy-o says sorry is just a word. What matters is what you do after you say it." The question hung in the air, a 7-year-old holding a powerful CEO accountable. Victoria did something Marcus had never seen her do. She knelt down, put herself at Ren's level, met those two wise eyes without flinching. "You're right. Sorry is just a word." Her voice was steady, but Marcus could see her hands shaking. "So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure your daddy has a good job. I'm going to help him catch the bad guys who hurt him, and I'm going to try very, very hard not to be mean anymore." Ren studied her for a long moment, the silence stretching. Then she nodded. Decision made. "Okay, then you can be my friend too." She leaned closer, whispering loud enough for everyone to hear. "Just so you know, Daddy-o makes really good pancakes. Maybe you should stay for breakfast sometime." Marcus choked on a surprised laugh. "Ren!" "What?" Pure innocence. "She looks hungry and tired and—" Ren tilted her head, studying Victoria with unsettling intensity. "And sad. She has really sad eyes, Daddy-o. Like you used to, before I taught you how to smile again." Victoria's composure shattered. The CEO of a multi-million-dollar company stood in a rundown parking lot and cried. Not delicate tears, real crying, the kind that had been building for 6 years. Ren, alarmed, immediately wrapped her small arms around Victoria's legs. "Don't cry, Miss Victoria. I didn't mean to make you sad." "You didn't." Victoria knelt fully, pulling the little girl into a proper hug, holding on like Ren was a life raft in a storm. "You didn't make me sad. You made me feel seen, for the first time in a very long time." Over Ren's shoulder, Victoria met Marcus's eyes, and something passed between them, something neither of them was ready to name. The weeks that followed changed everything. Marcus joined Nexus Dynamics as head of security. $75,000, full benefits, health insurance for Ren, flexible hours so he could still be the father she needed. Every day after school, Victoria's executive assistant Genevieve would bring Ren to the Nexus Dynamics childcare center. And every day, Victoria would find excuses to visit. Marcus watched through security cameras, Victoria reading books to Ren, doing different voices for all the characters, helping with homework, laughing at terrible jokes that only 7-year-olds found funny. "She's different when she's with your daughter," Derek Huang observed one afternoon. "Less ice queen, more human. She's been through a lot. So have you. Maybe that's why it works." 3 weeks after Marcus started, FBI made their move on Dmitry Volkov, a safe house in New Jersey. Coordinated raid, international cooperation. The arrest made headlines around the world. Tech crime lord captured, network dismantled, victory declared. But Marcus knew better than to celebrate. Cut off one head, 2 more grow back. Volkov had lieutenants, loyalists, people who wouldn't let 6 years of planning collapse because their boss got arrested. He was right to worry. Meanwhile, the investigation into the showroom attack continued. Someone inside Nexus Dynamics had fed information to Volkov. Someone with access to Victoria's schedule, her movements, her security protocols. Marcus reviewed personnel files, ran background checks, analyzed communication patterns. Late one night, he found something in the security footage. A gap. 17 minutes of deleted recordings from the morning of the attack. Only 3 people had clearance to delete security footage. Derek, Dr. Priya Sharma, and Raymond Crane. Marcus dug deeper. Financial records, bank statements, shell companies, and there it was. Raymond Crane, 48 years old, Victoria's COO, her mentor, the man who'd helped her rebuild after her father died. Gambling debts, $2.3 million, owed to shell companies that trace back to Eastern Europe, back to Dmitry Volkov. Marcus confronted him in his office, after hours, when the building was empty. "How long have you been working for Volkov?" Raymond's face went pale, then hard, the mask of a cornered animal. "You don't understand. I had no choice. The debts, the threats against my family. I never meant for anyone to get hurt. You sold out Victoria? You almost got her killed. She was never supposed to be hurt." Desperation cracked his voice. "They were only after you. I just had to delay the security response. Give them time to grab you, but you weren't supposed to fight back." Marcus moved closer, voice dropping to something cold, dangerous. "You warned them. When you saw me reviewing the security footage, you warned them I was getting close." Raymond's face confirmed everything. "They said they'd let my family go if I gave them one more thing, one more piece of leverage." His voice cracked. "I told them where Ren would be today. I told them the security rotation. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Marcus's phone rang. He knew who it would be before he answered. A woman's voice, accented, cold as winter steel. "Mr. Reeves, my name is Irina Kozlov. I work for the organization your government believes it has dismantled. Volkov's in custody. Your operation is over." Dmitry was always too emotional, too focused on personal revenge. She spoke with the detachment of someone discussing weather patterns. But his capture created an opportunity. Pause. "We have your daughter." "Mr. Reeves." The world stopped. "You're lying. She's at the Nexus Child Care Center. Security was at the Child Care Center until 40 minutes ago." Irina's voice held no triumph, just cold efficiency. "Third floor, glass windows. Your daughter was wearing a yellow cardigan. She was drawing a picture of your family when my team arrived. 3 people, holding hands. How touching." Marcus couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't feel anything except the ice spreading through his veins. "Proof of life." Sounds of movement. Then Ren's voice, terrified and small. "Daddy-o, there are bad people here. They have guns and they said—" The phone was yanked away. "Satisfied?" Irina's voice returned. "You have 6 hours. Bring Athena, the real one, not a decoy. Come alone to the coordinates I will send. And if I don't, then the last thing your daughter sees will be my face." The line went dead. Marcus stood frozen, Raymond still pinned against the wall, the world reduced to a single point of absolute clarity. They had Ren, they had his daughter, and he would burn down the entire world to get her back. Victoria found Marcus in the conference room, loading weapons, face carved from stone. She'd already heard. Raymond had confessed everything between sobs. Security had taken him into custody. FBI was en route, but none of that mattered now. "I'm coming with you." Marcus didn't look up. "No, this isn't a request." Victoria's voice held steel. "Volkov's people killed my father. Raymond was my friend. He betrayed me, betrayed us, and Ren," her voice cracked, "that little girl trusted me. She welcomed me into her life when she had every reason to hate me. She looked at me with those eyes and told me I had sad eyes like her daddy." Victoria crossed the room, stood directly in his path. "I will not hide while she's in danger. Not anymore." Marcus finally looked at her. Really looked, and saw something he recognized. The same fire that had kept him moving through firefights. The same determination that had carried him through 14 deployments. "If something happens to you, Then at least it happens while I'm doing something that matters. Victoria's eyes didn't waver. That's more than I could say about my life before you and Wren crashed into it. The plan came together in hours. Colonel Bradley Morrison coordinated military support, genuinely horrified by Raymond's betrayal. Determined to make it right, Dr. Priya Sharma installed a kill switch in Athena. If the system didn't receive an authentication code every 6 hours, the algorithms would self-destruct. If they get it, Priya explained, it becomes a very expensive paperweight. Marcus handed Victoria a compact taser, military grade, 50,000 volts. You're not going into that warehouse unarmed. She took it without hesitation. The woman who'd never held a weapon in her life, now ready to fight for the people she loved. FBI tactical teams positioned around the exchange point, an abandoned warehouse in the waterfront district, a perfect kill zone. But Marcus had faced worse odds before, and he'd never had more reason to win. 9 o'clock at night, Marcus entered the warehouse alone, Athena's case in hand. Floodlights snapped on, blinding. Irina Kozlov emerged from the shadows. Late 20s, tactical gear like a second skin, beautiful in a way that didn't soften her danger. Mr. Reeves, you came. Where's my daughter? Irina gestured toward the center of the warehouse. There, sitting on cold concrete, hands zip-tied, face tear-stained but somehow still defiant. Wren. Daddy-o! I'm here, baby. I'm right here. Irina's technician verified Athena's authenticity, connected diagnostic equipment, ran algorithms. It's real. All core systems intact. Excellent. Irina's smile held no warmth. Now, Mr. Reeves, you understand I can't let you leave. Let my daughter go. She's 7 years old. She's not part of this. Children make excellent leverage. Irina examined her weapon, almost bored. Perhaps we'll keep her, train her. Something shifted inside Marcus. Not loudly, quietly. The soldier returning. You made a mistake. Oh? You threatened my daughter. His voice dropped to something cold, ancient, dangerous. In front of me, Irina laughed. What can you do? You're one man against... The windows exploded inward. FBI snipers. Perfect timing. Chaos erupted. Marcus sprinted toward Wren. Bullets flying, flashbangs detonating, the warehouse transforming into a war zone. He reached her, dropped to his knees, shielding her body with his own. Close your eyes, princess. His voice was calm despite the madness. Don't look. Just hold on to daddy. His knife cut through the zip ties. I knew you'd come. Wren's arms wrapped around his neck, her voice small but certain. I told the mean lady. I said my daddy-o always saves people. She laughed at me. Marcus lifted her, protected her against his chest. She's not laughing now. Princess? Irina escaped through the back, Athena's case in hand. Victoria intercepted her at the dock. You're not leaving with that. Irina raised her weapon, amused. The Ice Queen herself. Do you even know how to fight? No. Victoria pulled the taser Marcus had given her. But I know how to survive. She fired. 50,000 volts dropped Irina to the concrete. Victoria kicked the weapon away, retrieved Athena. That's for my father. Her voice shook with 6 years of suppressed rage. And for Wren. And for the man I love. She said it out loud, finally. Across the warehouse, through smoke and chaos, Marcus heard her. Their eyes met for just a moment. A promise. A future. Everything they hadn't had time to say. He wanted to run to her, to hold her, to tell her he loved her too. Then the helicopter appeared overhead. And the night got worse. A face Marcus recognized from news bulletins 3 days ago. Dmitry Volkov. He should have been in maximum security federal custody, but money could buy almost anything, including 2 corrupt U.S. Marshals willing to stage a prison transport accident. Volkov had escaped 12 hours ago. The FBI alert had come too late. Now he was here, for his final revenge. Volkov cornered Marcus near the water's edge. Both men wounded, both exhausted. The final confrontation neither had been able to avoid for 6 years. You killed my brother. Volkov's voice was a snarl, combat knife in his hand. 6 years I've waited, and now I'll cut out your heart while your daughter watches. They fought, brutal, primal, father against vengeance seeker. Marcus was faster, better trained, but wounded, running on adrenaline and rage. They traded blows, blood on both of them, neither willing to give ground. Marcus got Volkov in a chokehold. One twist would end it. Justice for his fallen brothers, for Victoria's father, for every person this monster had ever hurt. Do it! Volkov laughed through the pressure on his throat. Become what you hate. Let your daughter see what her daddy really is. Marcus looked up. Ren stood at the warehouse entrance, Victoria holding her, trying to cover her eyes, but Ren was peeking through her fingers, watching. Daddy-o? In his daughter's voice, he heard the question. Who are you? The man who saves people, or the man who hurts them? Marcus released Volkov, stepped back. No. His voice was steady, certain. You don't get to make me a killer in front of my daughter. You don't get that victory. FBI agents tackled Volkov, cuffing him. Reading rights. This isn't over, Volkov screamed as they dragged him away. Yes, it is. Colonel Morrison's voice was cold satisfaction. Federal prison, maximum security. The only thing you'll be hunting is whatever they serve in the cafeteria. 1 week later, federal courthouse, sentencing hearing. Raymond Crane stood before the judge, handcuffed, broken. Victoria sat in the gallery, Marcus beside her, Ren between them, holding both their hands. Raymond Crane, the judge's voice echoed through the chamber. You have been found guilty on all counts: conspiracy, espionage, accessory to attempted murder, accessory to kidnapping. Raymond looked at Victoria, eyes pleading. I'm sorry, I never meant... You helped them take a 7-year-old girl. Victoria's voice was steel. You don't get forgiveness. You get consequences. 35 years, federal prison. No possibility of parole. As Raymond was led away, Ren squeezed Victoria's hand. Miss Victoria? Yes, sweetheart? You have really brave eyes now. Ren's voice was thoughtful. Before they were just sad, but now they're brave. Victoria pulled Ren close. These tears were different. These were healing. 6 months after the trial. Victoria asked Marcus to meet her somewhere. The address was familiar. Too familiar. Ashford Prestige Motors, the showroom where everything had begun. Marcus walked through the rebuilt entrance. New glass, new security, but the same marble floors. Victoria stood in the center, exactly where she'd been standing the day she fired him. I come here sometimes, she said quietly, to remind myself. Remind yourself of what? Of who I was. Of who I never want to be again. She turned to face him. 1 year ago, I stood in this exact spot and destroyed a good man's life because he was 21 minutes late. She walked toward him, took his hands. And that same man took a bullet for me anyway. Taught me what real strength looks like. Gave me a family I never knew I needed. Victoria, I'm selling the dealership. Her eyes were certain. I don't need this place anymore. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. She looked around the showroom one last time. But I wanted to say goodbye here, with you, because this is where my old life ended. She smiled, and where my real life began. Marcus pulled her close, kissed her forehead. Let's go home. They walked out together, through the same doors where he'd once been thrown away. But this time, they were walking towards something, not away. That same evening, Nexus Dynamics rooftop garden, sunset painting the city in gold. Ren chased butterflies between flower beds while Victoria and Marcus stood at the railing. I've been trying to figure out how to say this. Victoria's voice was soft. I've been practicing for weeks. Take your time. I love you. The words tumbled out. Simple, true. Not because you saved my life. Not because we survived something terrible together. I love you because of the way you look at Ren, like she's the entire universe. I love you because you showed me that strength isn't about walls. It's about who you let in. Marcus cupped her face in his hands. I love you too. His voice was rough with emotion. Not because you gave me a job or saved my life. I love you because you knelt down in a parking lot and let my daughter hold you accountable. Because you read her stories with all the voices. because you let yourself be seen. He kissed her, soft, certain, a promise. When they broke apart, Ren was standing right next to them, grinning. I knew it. Mrs. Bellamy owes me $5. You bet on us? Marcus laughed. I told her Miss Victoria had hard eyes every time she looked at you. Victoria knelt to Ren's level. Ren, there's something I want to ask you, something important. Ren's face went serious. Is this about whether you can be my daddy's girlfriend? Because obviously, yes. It's more than that. Victoria took a shaky breath. I know I'm not your mom. I would never try to replace her. But I was hoping you might let me be part of your family. Ren threw her arms around Victoria's neck. I already decided. Her voice was muffled against Victoria's shoulder. The first time you read me a story and did all the voices, I decided you were my family. Victoria pulled back. Both had tears on their cheeks. You know what this means, right? Ren's voice was suddenly serious. If you're my family now, you have to come to my soccer games and make cookies for bake sales and tell me I'm pretty even when I have bed hair. Victoria laughed through her tears. I can do all of those things. Good. Ren nodded with satisfaction. Also, I want a puppy and a baby sister. But we can negotiate. Marcus choked. Ren! What? I'm just planning ahead. That's what families do. 1 year after the rooftop. 2 years since the day Victoria fired Marcus for being 21 minutes late. Sunday morning. A house with a real backyard now. White fence. Flower garden that Victoria was slowly learning not to kill. Mrs. Bellamy lived in the guest house out back. Victoria's idea. She took care of Ren when you couldn't. Victoria had said, now we take care of her. The old woman had cried for an hour when they'd asked, then immediately started teaching Ren how to make her grandmother's apple pie. Marcus stood at the stove, flipping pancakes, the smell of maple syrup filling the kitchen. Victoria set the table, her hair loose, wearing one of Marcus's old army t-shirts, looking nothing like the Ice Queen CEO, and Ren sat on the counter, officially supervising. Daddy-o, her voice carried that tone that meant trouble. Miss Victoria, I mean Mom, said I could have a puppy. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Did she now? She said to ask you, but she also said she'd handle it if you said no. Ren grinned. I think she's getting really good at this family stuff. Victoria walked over, wrapping her arms around Marcus from behind. She's not wrong. Victoria's voice was warm. I am getting good at this. Marcus turned, pulled both his girls into a hug. 1 year ago, Marcus said quietly, I walked into that showroom with nothing. No job, no hope, just a sick daughter and $247. And now, Victoria asked, now I have everything. Ren squirmed between them. Can I have my pancakes now? The emotional stuff is great, but I'm starving. They laughed, all three of them. Marcus served the pancakes, slightly burned, perfect anyway. Victoria poured orange juice, spilled a little, didn't care. Ren announced that they needed a dog named Pancake because that would be hilarious. And in that small kitchen, with sunlight streaming through windows and love filling every corner, 3 people who'd been broken by the world finally found what they'd been searching for. Family, not the family they'd lost. Something better, something they'd built together. From broken pieces, from shared pain, from the choice to keep fighting when everything seemed lost. Marcus caught Victoria's eye across the table. She smiled at him, that soft, real smile that only he and Ren ever got to see. I love you, she mouthed silently. I love you too. And Ren, catching the exchange, rolled her eyes with all the dramatic exasperation an 8-year-old could muster. You guys are so mushy. Can we please just eat? They could. They did. And they lived, not happily ever after. That was for fairy tales. They lived messily, imperfectly, with burned pancakes and arguments about puppies and mornings that started too early. But they lived together, and that was everything.
The story above leaves a very clear lesson. True strength lies not in power, money, or ruthlessness, but in kindness, responsibility, and the ability to change. The 36-year-old man, having experienced war and understood loss, feared most that his daughter would be left unprotected by a fever. A father's love transformed him into a shield for innocent people, even after he himself had been treated unjustly. In that chaotic moment, he chose to save lives instead of seeking revenge, knowing his daughter was watching how he lived. The second lesson is, an apology is never enough without action. The female CEO initially represented a type of false strength, using discipline and ruthlessness to mask her fear of failure and the pressure of succession. But witnessing someone she had fired willingly sacrifice themselves to save her, she understood that toughness isn't a sign of strength, but sometimes just a shield for the wounded. The third lesson comes from the little girl. Children don't talk much about philosophy, but they have an intuition about right and wrong and a very fair heart. A child can make even the most powerful adults reflect on themselves, because the simplest truth is, family isn't something that comes naturally, but something built through daily choices. Finally, the story reminds us that life can be cruel, but people still have the right to choose to be a light for each other. When a person knows how to love properly, knows how to take responsibility, and knows how to correct their mistakes, they not only save a family, but also save themselves from loneliness. And sometimes the healthiest healing isn't about defeating an enemy, but about maintaining humanity even when you have every reason to be cruel.